let me give you an example of why I think education is key. People are very familiar with the MP's Common Fund.
This is the budget that is allocated and shared to members of parliament.
MP's Common Fund. MP's Common Fund. You go to the constituencies, MPs are emergency numbers. That's how I tag us. Yes. Anyone who has an emergency in the constituency is likely to look for the MP or his number.
What was the request for the most recent emergency call that you received? What did the person ask for?
There was this funny one that...
Or the most exciting one?
In fact, it was I think it was a text message. I still have it here. I could share it with you. The request was that he needed my help to get some contact within the National Lottery Authority so that they can give him some too sure banker to stake.
Oh, I see.
So that he can solve his problems. He doesn't need money from me.
Just a contact?
Yeah, he just needs me to get him a contact so that they'll give him too sure to stake.
But people ask, they ask for...
those are some of the ridiculous requests.
But you have the weddings and school fees and
those ones are the normal ones.
Okay.
I'm telling you the abnormal. That's why I give you an abnormal example. But you see, such a person can be offended and decide to say that you are not helpful.
What did you do?
And decide to campaign against
you. Did you give him the numbers?
How am I supposed to? How do I even know how it works? But I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
So we are emergencies in our constituencies. Now, the Common Fund is, in my view, there's the need for people to be educated to understand that it's not actually MP's Common Fund. It's District Assembly Common Fund. And the MP just has a share.
Because as the MP, you sit in the assembly.
Yes. So, but the
with
fund,
other members.
The fund, that budget, is allocated to the district assembly to carry out development for everybody.
Okay.
But there is a 5% share for the MP. So you can imagine, out of 100%, people focus more on the 5%.
That comes directly to you.
That comes to the MP.
Okay.
It doesn't even come directly to the MP. It is kept at the assembly, but utilized and managed by the MP. So you have, for example, 100,000 for the assembly's development for 4 months. 5% of the 100,000 may just be 5,000, right?
Is that the figure for Tamale North?
Yes. No, I'm just giving figures.
I want the figure for Tamale North.
The last release was 160,000 Ghana cedis for the Sanargo Assembly.
Okay, of which you are a part.
And so out of it, I get 5% of that. That's
8,000.
That's about 8,000.
8K.
Do you understand?
Cedis.
Yes. And now, I'm supposed to do the roads with the 8,000, not the assembly. I'm supposed to pay the fees with the 8,000, not the assembly. The assembly that has 160, in fact, we're talking about 80,000, not 8,000, 80,000.
No, 8,000. 160,000, half of it, 8,000.
Yeah. So I'm supposed to do all of that. The roads they want done is the MP. The drains they want done is the MP. The school fees they want you to pay is the MP. The loans they took and they are not able to pay should come from that.
But is the MP who on the campaign trail says, I'll do roads for you? Is the MP who says, I'll build you schools?
Fantastic.
Is the MP who says, I'll build you hospitals?
Fantastic.
So now who costs him?
Fantastic point. It is true that the MPs during campaign commit themselves to do some of these things. But let me give you an example of the reason why I think that we should have education. Yes, it's the MP's role to ensure that the people get their share of the national cake. It's the MP's role, not so. So if the MP is well representative, I mean, it's a good representative of his people, he will be able, especially if his government is in power, to influence budgetary allocations.
And unfortunately, your government is not in power.
If your government is not in power, that's a different thing. That's why I am able to get in touch with NGOs like Qatar Charity.
Okay, so that's a plan B. You speak to NGOs, CSOs.
Because the MP is part of development in the constituency. You can't say the MP doesn't have a role to play. But I'm saying that in every place around the world, central government leads in development and all others follow. like MPs, like NGOs, they follow. But when you have a situation where the focus is on the MP and not the central government, then it calls for education, for people to understand the supporting role of the MP. So if the MP says, if you elect me, I will ensure our schools are done, our roads are done. First of all, you need to assess the ability of that MP once he becomes an MP to influence, for example, government budget allocations to education or health. Will the MP be placed properly once he goes to Parliament to be able to request when budgets are prepared that allocate this amount of money to do this road in my area? If you don't have an MP or a person with that charisma, with that character, or with that opportunity, he'll just warm your seat in Parliament for you and perhaps come back and give you excuses.
So from what you are saying, if Mr. Mahama had won the election in 2016 and you, of course, had won you won your seat, the story would have been different. You'd have been able to do a bit more because your government is in power.
Absolutely. You see, and at the time that I was even a candidate, I demonstrated it a little.
Okay.
By way of initiating some projects through lobbying of central government. The interesting thing, however, Kafu, is that at the time, my opponent, who is now on the ticket of the NPP, was the incumbent MP. And his rebuttal was that, oh, I'm lying. I am not an MP and I'm not a DCE, so how can I be leading projects in the area? But yes, I wasn't MP, I wasn't DCE, but my government was in power, and I was close enough to the corridors of power to influence it.
And then you can make it happen.
The interesting thing or the irony is that today, at the time he spoke that way as incumbent MP, he was an independent MP. Today, he is on the ticket of the NPP as their candidate. He's joined the NPP, and he's on their ticket as their candidate. And now, he goes around telling people that every government project that is done, he's brought it.
Okay.
When he's not MP, he's not DC.
He wants your seat. He wants your seat.
But he should be honest. I like honesty.
Briefly.
He should tell the people that I lied to you when I said Honorable SUHUYINI couldn't do that because he wasn't MP or DC. It can happen.
Yes.
So he has learned maybe a useful lesson from me.
Okay.
That is, if indeed those projects are connected to him. I know they are not.
I'm sure he's
they
watching.
They are assembly projects. Some of them, in fact, just a few of them.
All right.
But
that's the
I'm
way
sure
it goes.
The people are
That's the way it goes.
Are discerning.
And they are watching. Briefly.